So I got another request to do a video on a specific subject, and I'm going to pretty much call this a toolkit. Well, as this person actually said it, a toolkit for helping people transition out of unhealthy relationships and into healthy relationships. The comment says, I'd be interested in hearing your take on how we attract and mirror partners based on where we are in our healing journeys. An example, like attachment styles and traumas, and what it looks like to be in a secure attachment style, healthy, secure relationship, tips on how to get there, and what to avoid as to not repeat toxic patterns. I love the question. I really do. It's fun to explore this stuff. One of the coolest things about healing is discovering the opposite of what you previously believed, which is that you are actually worthy. Like as you are. Like your worth is not tied to anything out there, which is a fascinating thing because that's what we learn in survival. In fight, flight, freeze, fawn, we learn that our worth is tied to something out there. And it's not healthy, nor is it fun. So I'm going to kind of divide this video in half. And first I'm going to explore the unhealthy survival-based childhoods that many people unfortunately experience. And also the healthy dynamics in healthy childhoods. And again, I'll make it very clear that there's no such thing as a perfect childhood. There are no such things as perfect parents. Every single child comes out of childhood with some level of trauma, but some children experience far more severe trauma depending on, the survival-based dynamics. So, being raised in survival, in a survival dynamic with fight, flight, freeze, fawn, versus being raised in a healthy dynamic, understand this first and foremost. This is foundational. It doesn't matter if it's an unhealthy childhood, a survival-based childhood, or a healthy childhood. We attract based on our parents and how they raise us. That's just the way that it is. Unhealthy adults are attracted to other unhealthy adults because they are still in survival with mommy and daddy. Meaning that because they were raised in survival with fight, flight, freeze, fawn, they're attracted to people that keep them in that dynamic, that are in that dynamic. So you think about it, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Say, for instance, fawning, people-pleasing. If your parents taught you how to people-please, you're going to be attracted to people that basically subconsciously, unconsciously require you to people-please because that is what's comfortable and familiar. Versus healthy adults that are attracted to other healthy adults. If your parents raised you in a healthy way, you're going to be attracted to healthy individuals because you got the healthy boundaries, you got the individuation, and you got the differentiation. But what we're here to talk about is the transition away from unhealthy, survival-based fight, flight, freeze, fawn relationship dynamics and into healthy ones. And so, understanding this, first and foremost, because I'm going to create a dynamic here that I think will be very helpful in understanding what's actually happening here. In childhood, there was a little you that was unaware because when you're a child, you don't have a necessary evolved level of conscious awareness to actually understand what's going on. Hopefully, you're raised in a healthy childhood. But unfortunately for those that aren't, and instead they're raised in survival, the family system does not have healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation, and instead, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, the little you got traumatized by things. Things that the person in the healthy childhood did not get traumatized by. In the healthy childhood, the child was not expected to people please, was not expected to be a narcissistic extension of somebody. No, they were given healthy boundaries. They were given the space to develop a healthy ego state. Think about it this way. In the unhealthy childhood, the way that the person's ego state developed was with marring and scathing that sculpted them into a people pleaser. They literally learned that their role is to be highly attuned to people's emotions and to base their sense of self off of that. That's boundary violating on both ends. It's not healthy. Imagine being brought into this world with an unconscious, subconscious belief. Could be either one. At this point, it's probably unconscious. You're probably not even aware of it. But a belief that it is literally your job to please people. And you're not even aware of it. You just think that that's the way that things are supposed to be. It's because you were raised in survival with fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And you were taught to believe that that's just the way that things are for you. You don't question it. It's kind of like being born in a prison that you don't even know you're in. A prison that you cannot smell, you cannot touch, you cannot taste, you cannot see. What is there to question? If it's completely not available to any of your senses, you're not even going to know you're in it. This is the unfortunate reality of people that are raised in survival. And nonetheless, the people that raise the people in survival that also don't know that they're in survival, it's a fucking shit show. It's sad. It's very sad. The important part is becoming aware of the unhealthy dynamic. Because in the survival-based childhood, when little Timmy took on all of the shit that his father projected onto him because his father lacked healthy boundaries, and he taught him that he was unworthy because his father believed that the father himself was unworthy. All of these different things. The father lacked healthy boundaries. The father was not individuated. The father was not differentiated. The father basically screwed up its child with a fucked up way of seeing itself. Rather than getting healthy boundaries, little Timmy was basically a fucking screen for his father's insecurities and his projections. And it's just always fascinating to me when people wonder why people turn out to be adults and just seem energetically, emotionally awkward, weird, repressed, pent up, unbalanced, too much, too little. Look at the childhood. Yeah, look at the childhood, if you so choose to. So again, understanding that when you were in the survival-based childhood, you learn dynamics of survival, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. That became normalized to you. Let me make it very clear, as I have made it clear in many of my other videos. Survival, fight, flight, freeze, fawn is unhealthy. It seems normal for the people that don't understand what it is. It's not. It's a fucked up dynamic. It fucks up children. It brings them to be attracted to unhealthy dynamics. If you were raised in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, the likelihood that you end up being either masochistic or sadomasochistic, meaning that you learn a belief that you deserve to be hurt because you learned to intertwine pleasure with pain. Pleasure does not occur by itself. For masochists, pleasure and pain are intertwined. So you don't learn a differentiation between pleasure and pain. Why do you think the relationships that people like that end up in are fucked up, are painful? Well, they learn that love is painful. Yes, in a survival-based fight, flight, freeze, fawn dynamic, you're going to learn that you'll only be loved if you fawn, if you people please. But that violates your boundaries. What is that? Painful. But I can only be loved if I do this, and even though it hurts me, I'm going to do it anyway because this is the only way that I know how to be loved. This is a great example for what I'm about to say. Healthy love does not require you to hurt yourself to be loved. It does not require you to sacrifice yourself to be loved. It does not require you to be inauthentic to be loved. Now, the fascinating thing is that there is this little self. In this case, if this applies to you, a little you. This is the little you that was traumatized in childhood. And then there's like this bigger, higher self of you. And the higher self recognizes, wow, I was raised in survival with fight, flight, freeze, fawn. I was taught that love is painful. I was taught that that is the only way that relationships exist. Holy fucking shit, I was gaslighted. Yeah, crazy. And now the work is to really understand that transitioning from unhealthy to healthy requires you to sit with your little self and basically do a bunch of fucking unwiring of all the hardwiring that was done. There is going to be a pull towards unhealthy dynamics because it's comfortable and familiar to childhood. Seeing the unhealthy dynamics for what they are, for instance, in a fight, flight, freeze, fawn, you would be attracted to people that use you as a projection to vomit their insecurities onto. Why? Because in survival, in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, they did not learn healthy boundaries. If they had, they would not vomit their insecurities onto you. Because what happens when they vomit their insecurities onto you as a result of a lack of healthy boundaries, and you simultaneously lack healthy boundaries? Well, the likelihood that you're going to believe that their shit has anything to do with you is very high. It's no different from when your father or your mother, because of a lack of healthy boundaries, vomited their insecurities onto you, leading you to believe that you were unworthy, you were a defective piece of shit, you were XYZ, fill in the fucking blank. It really doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it was a belief, just a belief, had nothing to do with you, but because you were a little child, wide-eyed, and you didn't know any better, you took it all on. You were a fucking sponge. You took on everyone else's shit. You took on everyone else's insecurities. And so that's what it led to. So let me make this very clear that the transition away from unhealthy to healthy requires you to understand that there's going to be a pull that is comfortable and familiar towards unhealthy dynamics. Seeing them for what it is the most important thing. Choosing healthier to healthy is one of the most important things. It really is. And before I end off this video, not sure if I'm going to end it off in the next couple minutes or take a little bit longer because there's a lot to say, quite honestly. But something that I noticed that a lot of people who are stagnated in emotional immaturity, again, no judgment. I'm just seeing everything for what it is. With emotional immaturity and the stagnation of that comes black or white thinking. People that are emotionally immature struggle to see people in a holistic way, in a very balanced way. You're neither good nor bad. You're neither right nor wrong. You're just a fucking person. And that's not to look at somebody and devalue them like, oh, you're just a person. No, seeing people as they are, people. Integrated as people. They're not good or bad or right or wrong. They're just people. They're not the fucking salvation to your life. They're not there for you to fucking project all of your insecurities onto and devalue them because maybe they said something that unknowingly to them hurt you. People are just people. Seeing them in the holistic way that they are is very important, especially when it comes to healing. If you believe that you're going to find somebody who's going to solve all your problems, that's a massive amount of weight to put on them. It's also not their responsibility to do that. If you are insecure because you were raised in survival with fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and you learned that your literal role here in life is to people please, and that leads you to feel insecure because maybe there's something inside of you that's like, you know what, I do this because I feel like I have to in order to be loved, but I don't actually like to do it. That could lead to you feeling insecure, of course. Because imagine regularly doing things that you don't want to do, but you feel like you have to because you feel like that's the only way that you can be loved. Yeah, I can imagine that would make people feel insecure. It's sad. It's really fucking sad. So let me make this clear that the toolkit is understanding that there is a little you. If this video applies to you, by the way, there is a little you that was raised in survival with fight, flight, freeze, fawn, lack of healthy boundaries, lack of individuation, lack of differentiation, which means that you would need to implement all three of those: healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation. And then with that, understanding that there's going to be a pull towards unhealthy dynamics because that was comfortable and familiar to childhood. Childhood shaped us so fucking much. It needs to be understood. Childhood shaped us so fucking much. If you had a healthy childhood, you don't have to worry about this stuff because you already got the things that people in survival-based fight, flight, freeze, fawn childhoods did not get. And so understanding that really, like, you open the toolkit, right? Imagine that you open that toolkit and you see a few different tools. What you want to pick up is awareness of the situation, right? Maybe that's taking the mask off. Oh shit, I've been wearing this mask that I didn't even realize I was wearing for all these fucking years. Take off the mask. You see the situation for what it is. Oh shit, I was raised in survival with fight, flight, freeze, fawn. I learned to play a role in my relationships, and therefore I have attracted really fucking unhealthy people. They're not good or bad or right or wrong, they're just unhealthy. They're emotionally immature, and their emotional immaturity leads them into unhealthy relationship dynamics. That's just the reality of it. No judgment, no shame, no guilt. That's literally just the way that it is. See it for what it is. It's important to. Now, understanding this, when you are transitioning away from unhealthy relationship dynamics, there is so much fucking comfortable and familiar energy here. Like, imagine it's like a bubble bath. Or something that you just like are so regularly seduced into. There's going to be a pull of comfort and familiarity there, and it's going to be in many different ways. It's going to be in trying to like make you feel like you're not worthy of better. You are. You have to do the work of reminding yourself that you're worthy. It's very challenging work, quite honestly. It is. Moving yourself from unhealthy to healthy literally is like moving in slow-mo and understanding, or like knowing and seeing that you're almost going nowhere, and you're running at like 1,000,000 miles per hour, and you're trying and trying and trying, just not giving up on yourself. You've been gaslighted, probably, or I should say, maybe you have been gaslighted to believe that you are a defective, unworthy piece of shit that does not deserve anything good. Yeah, that is over here, and it's going to try to keep you here. It's going to try to keep you in this space of unhealthy. Oh, but all of these people that you have known, what, you're just going to say goodbye to them? Quite honestly, yeah. Unless it's money, you don't owe them shit. You don't. If they're unhealthy, they're unhealthy. Now, the question is, do you want to wait around for them to change? Why would you? The likelihood that they're actually going to is very, very low. And that might not even be something that they want to do. You're not responsible for other people. You're responsible for yourself. You weren't responsible for yourself in childhood, but in adulthood you are. Your parents or whoever raised you in childhood were responsible for you. But if they lacked necessary emotional health, they were not responsible. When I say responsible, they were not beneficially impactful enough in your life to give you what it was that you needed, which was healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation, because they were not either. They can't give you what they aren't. That's the way that it works. So understanding that there are going to be pulls based on the little you that was fucked up in childhood, and just gradually, step by step, moving over to the higher self, being in touch with the higher self, asking yourself what it is that you want, and trusting yourself, absolutely trusting yourself. I'll end off with this because I think that it's very fucking important to understand. In the survival-based childhood, the likelihood that you were gaslighted, the likelihood that you were led to believe that you can't trust yourself, that you can't make decisions for yourself, and even like whatever fear you felt, like invalidated for it and taught to believe that there's, that you don't have it as bad as X, Y, and Z. It's just a triangulation, all of the bullshit. It's sad. There's going to be a lot of things that try to pull you back there. A lot of people, a lot of comfort and familiarity, a lot of different things. The likelihood that you're going to be shamed and guilted for what you're doing is very high. See it for what it is. Those people are in pain. They're probably not going to change. The best thing that you can do for yourself is what you want for yourself, and be very aware of that. Now, let me just end off with this, truly. As to not repeat toxic patterns, you have to see them for what they are. Being reactive is toxic. staying inside of survival-based dynamics with fight, flight, freeze, fawn, with people that remind you of the comfort and familiarity of your survival-based fight, flight, freeze, fawn childhood is toxic. It's toxic. You don't need to be there. You can do better. You deserve better. You have a choice. It is entirely up to you. You can trust yourself. You are an autonomous individual, even if you don't see it yet. It's very important to understand that. I'll end off with this, actually. Look at survival. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. I'll spell it out for you. Fight, getting defensive because somebody lacks healthy boundaries and they project onto you, and that's painful for you, so you fight back. Let's not waste our time with that. Flight, learning to run away from issues, away from confrontation, away from pain. If you sit with pain, you learn about it, you understand it, you grow with it. Pain, yes, it can be absolutely fucking painful. But don't let it be any more intimidating than it is. It's just pain. And I understand that can sound invalidating. I'm genuinely not trying to invalidate anybody. When you stop looking at pain as more intimidating than it actually is, you take your power back. That's what it is. Freeze, shutting down because somebody disrespects you. Learning that you're powerless. That's not healthy because you're not powerless. You are powerful and you have power. Fawning, people-pleasing. Would you want to be loved only for your capacity to please people while simultaneously understanding that it's actually not your fucking responsibility to please anybody? That's a very boundary-violating dynamic. So with that, do you actually want to stay in survival with fight, flight, freeze, fawn? Or do you want to step into your power and understand that you are worthy, you are capable, you are worthy of healthy love, which is not boundary violating. It's not in survival with fight, flight, freeze, fawn. This is your choice. And I hope that presents a beneficial toolbox to help you understand the transition out of unhealthy and into healthy, because you deserve it.